In my past life, I was taken in by a poor family, while my sister was adopted by a wealthy family. Unexpectedly, my sister was driven out after living with the wealthy family for less than 5 years and died tragically on the streets. Meanwhile, I entered the best school through my excellent academic performance, studied abroad with my adoptive brother, and built a commercial empire with my own hands. Later, with the blessings of our adoptive parents, we got married and had children. This life has been happy and smooth. Reborn into this life, this time, my sister made a completely opposite choice from before. She ran over and threw herself into her adoptive brother's arms, calling him brother. Holding her adoptive parents' hands, she looked at me with a triumphant gaze. "Sister, the hardships of the wealthy family are all yours now. That place that devours people without leaving a trace, I can't stand it for another moment." I looked at my husband from my past life, hoping he would say something, but he tightly shielded my sister behind him. His cold gaze fell on me. "Stay away from my sister." In the end, under her triumphant gaze, I walked toward the stretched limousine. Vesper's words just now gave me a profound realization. Had she also been reborn? As I watched her confident and triumphant gaze, it seemed I understood something. "Please get in the car, miss. The Grosvenor family didn't send anyone else, only a driver." It was the same in my previous life. When the orphanage director let us make our own choice, my sister Vesper chose first, leaving me no time to react. She spoke with an air of superiority. "I refuse to live a life of hardship like a poor person. Sister, you can bear that suffering for me." Later, she got her wish to live a wealthy life, but the smile on her face grew smaller day by day. I stepped onto that luxurious extended Lincoln. The driver, while driving, reminded me of the rules to follow when arriving at the Grosvenor family. "Have you got it all?" His shrewd eyes looked at me through the rearview mirror. "Got it." The car quickly arrived at the place. I followed the driver into the villa, which was as luxurious as a palace. "Madam, we've brought her." Mrs. Victoria, the elegant woman sipping tea on the sofa, looked up and examined me with her gaze, then gestured for me to approach. "Come here." "You, what is your name?" "Aurora." Aurora was the name the orphanage director had given me. The lady nodded. "Good. From now on, you are my daughter. Butler, take her upstairs." I followed closely behind the butler, step by step. The stair railing was made of precious sandalwood, and the floor was crafted from expensive marble. Everything exuded luxury. Yet, all of this, I could have achieved through my own efforts in my previous life, so I felt little curiosity about it. The butler glanced back at me, a flicker of disbelief flashing in his eyes. Pushing open the door, a grand princess-style room came into view. "Miss, this will be your room from now on. Please rest for a while, and I'll come back later." With that, the butler left. I walked in and looked around. The environment was excellent, and it was clear that the Grosvenor family had been generous, even toward her, an adopted daughter. Every corner of the room exudes the refinement and luxury of high society. A surge of immense excitement wells up deep within me. In my past life, without the support of a strong family background, I relied on my own two hands, working step by step. Only then could I live a life like this. In this life, I'd joined the Grosvenor family. With their support, I must carve out a path uniquely my own. Lost in thought, I hear several shouts from behind me, and the door suddenly swings open. A basketball flies out of nowhere and hits me squarely on the head. Thud. "Hey, that little country bumpkin, bring my basketball over here." An arrogant voice rang out from behind me. I slowly turned around to find a boy who looked about my age but was much taller standing before me. He held his head high, exuding an air of superiority. If I remembered correctly, he should be Jason, the only child of the Grosvenor family. His hobbies included extreme sports like racing and skydiving, a typical spoiled rich kid who always slacked off and had not the slightest interest in the family business. In my past life, he had been involved in a racing accident that resulted in severe compression injuries to his lower body, leaving him paralyzed for life. His temperament had also become exceptionally volatile as a result, Hey, what are you standing there dazed for? Did you not hear me? An impatient voice sounded beside my ear. I snapped back to reality, picked up the basketball from the ground, and handed it to him. Remembering the driver's reminder, I softly called out, "Here you go, brother." He was taken aback for a moment. "Quite good at flattery, aren't you? Don't think that just because you do this, you'll get a share of my family's wealth." He sneered and walked away. Over the next few days, I rarely saw Mrs. Victoria, and Jason was even more elusive, like a dragon that only shows its head, not its tail. The butler took me around to familiarize myself with the place. The entire villa was exceptionally large, and once I had gotten acquainted with it, he handed me a form. It was densely packed with various business management courses. "This is your class schedule from now on. Starting tomorrow, you'll receive one-on-one training in company management courses. Everything has been arranged by the madam, and you only need to focus on your studies. There will be plenty of benefits for you in the future. So, can you handle it?" These were things I only encountered in my previous life when I started my own business. Now, at just 15 years old, I had the chance to learn them, so of course, I was happy. I nodded and said, "Of course I can." A hint of surprise flashed across his face, but he didn't say anything and continued to give me instructions. To ensure I didn't fall behind in my middle school courses, Mrs. Victoria even hired a special tutor for me. But I had already learned all of this in my previous life, so it came naturally to me. In just one short year, I absorbed all the knowledge and applied it flexibly. This child learns incredibly fast. Not only does he know all the junior and senior high school material, but he can even grasp those difficult, obscure professional courses on company management. The teacher hired by Mrs. Victoria praised me non-stop in front of her. I sat to the side, listening quietly. Looking delighted, he said, "At this rate, he won't even need to attend high school and can go straight to studying abroad." But Mrs. Victoria's plan was different. She wanted me to accompany Jason through high school and then study abroad together. She called it looking out for each other, but in reality, she wanted me to rein in Jason, that wild runaway horse. Mrs. Victoria gave the teacher a generous payment, and her gaze toward me held a bit more approval. "Come here." She took my hand and sat me down, handing me an admission letter. "You've done well. Jason's grades aren't improving, so keep helping him. The bar isn't high, just make sure he passes. Once high school is over, I'll send you both abroad. How does that sound?" With almost no prelude, Mrs. Victoria made her request explicitly clear. Without hesitation, I responded, "Thank you, Mom." She raised an eyebrow, clearly pleased, and tightened her grip on my hand. "Good child." As a reward, Mrs. Victoria gave me a card and allowed me to go out and enjoy myself for the day. This was the most relaxed and leisurely day I had experienced since coming to the Grosvenor family. The driver took me to the bustling and vibrant downtown area, where I got out of the car alone. I hadn't walked far when a familiar figure appeared before me. It was Vesper, standing by the roadside under the scorching sun, handing out flyers. Her adoptive parents were very poor and could hardly spare any extra money, so it was only natural that she was forced to work to earn money. After all, I went through the same in my previous life. During summer breaks, I had to juggle 3 jobs a day while keeping up with my studies. Not only that, I also had to help my adoptive parents with all sorts of household chores. They claimed to treat everyone equally, but in reality, they couldn't bear to let their biological son do any work. It wasn't until later that I found out my adoptive parents didn't adopt me because they wanted a caring, thoughtful child. Instead, they were looking for free labor. "Hello, would you like to take a look at this?" A flyer was handed over. Vesper's words abruptly stopped as she looked up and saw me. "Aurora?" Noticing the luxury goods on me and my well-maintained skin, a flicker of envy crossed her face, fleeting as it was. She smiled and said, "You seem to be living quite comfortably now, but don't blame me for not warning you. Places like the Grosvenor family aren't for just anyone. Mrs. Victoria is far more terrifying than you imagine. You'll find out soon enough." "Oh, My indifferent reply left her slightly irritated. She began bragging about her adoptive parents' family. Uncle and auntie are so good to me. I live a fulfilling life every day, and my brother even helps me with my homework. Oh, and by the way, we were exceptionally admitted to a top school this year. Isn't that just the admission letter Mrs. Victoria gave me a moment ago? The ones who get in are all people with outstanding family backgrounds and status. Of course, there are also those admitted exceptionally due to exceptionally excellent academic performance. In my past life, it was my brother and I who were exceptionally admitted. Our future days will only get better and better, while you'll meet a miserable end on the streets. She spoke with an air of certainty. My lips moved, and I was about to say something when a voice called out, "Vesper." "Brother, what brings you here?" Vesper exclaimed happily, throwing herself into Rowan's arms. Rowan handed her a lunchbox and said, "Mom asked me to bring you some food. It's the middle of the day, and it's too tiring. How about I take over for you for a while?" "No need, brother, I can handle it." Rowan's parents would rather grit their teeth and send Rowan to expensive tutoring classes than allow Vesper to take a break. In my previous life, I was similarly exploited. "You've worked hard," Rowan said, noticing me nearby. "Bro, this is my sister Aurora." "You've met her before at the welfare home," Vesper introduced. Rowan glanced at me, his cold expression tinged with a hint of disdain. He ignored me and turned to Vesper, saying, "Stay away from questionable people. Let's go." He didn't give me a chance to speak, pulling Vesper away. "Brother, why are you being so harsh? What if you scare her?" "Silly sister, that person just now didn't seem like a decent person. You should stay away from her in the future, or else who knows how she might hurt you behind your back." Harsh words echoed in my ears, stirring a slight ripple in my heart, but not much. With the card Mrs. Victoria gave me, I bought a whole pile of luxury items. When I walked out carrying a huge bag, Vesper's face turned pale with envy. "Humph, what's there to be so proud of? Sooner or later, you'll end up dead anyway, unlike my brother and me, who are destined to run a major company in the future." I smiled, amused by her naivety. Carrying several large and small bags, I returned home. In truth, not a single item inside was purchased for me, they were all for Mrs. Victoria and Jason. When I got back, Jason was surprisingly at home. Seeing me, he sneered, "Oh, look at this. You've only been with us for a short while, and you've already learned to haul in bags full of stuff as if our things were yours." "Jason." Mrs. Victoria called out warningly, "She is your sister." Jason curled his lip. "What kind of sister is she?" "I don't have a country bumpkin sister like her, I'd be embarrassed to be seen with her in public. Jason has always had it in for me, and I have no desire to throw myself in front of the firing squad." I took the gifts out of the bag one by one. "Mom, this is for you." I handed over the gift box, which contained a thin, gauzy scarf. Then I handed out gifts one by one to the butler and other servants who have been taking care of me. On Mrs. Victoria's face, I saw an expression of relief, different from usual. The butler and the other servants also looked both flattered and astonished. Jason's expression immediately fell. "Pfft, you don't really think a few gifts can win people over, do you?" As if. "Bro, this is for you." As if I hadn't heard, I took out the last gift. It was a model racing car. "I heard from Mom that you like racing cars, so I bought this when I saw it at the mall." He paused for a moment, muttered something, and took it. Soon, the day for school arrived. I was all set to take a taxi out, but to my surprise, the car was still parked right outside. A hint of secret delight flashed across my face, and I ran over. "Bro. Who are you calling bro? I told you, I'm not your brother," Jason said impatiently, pulling the car door open. "Quit dawdling and hurry up. My time is precious." "Oh, okay." I responded sluggishly, handing him the breakfast Auntie had packed. "Mom said one for each of us." A hint of discomfort flashed across Jason's face as he muttered, "Who still eats breakfast anyway?" He took it anyway. I raised an eyebrow, thinking to myself, seems like he's quite the tsundere, after all. Just before getting out of the car, he made sure to warn me, let me tell you, don't you dare say you're my sister at school, and definitely don't expose our relationship, or else I'll hold you accountable. After that warning, he went straight out of the car. Miss, don't take it to heart. The young master has always been like this since he was little, the driver comforted. I shook my head, said it was fine, and followed him out of the car. As luck would have it, I ran into two familiar figures at the school gate again. Rowan is good-looking and carries himself with an air of aloofness, attracting the attention of many female classmates. The crowd gathered around him and Vesper. Hey, have you heard? That's this year's top student in the city who was just recruited by our school. He's incredible, and his sister is also amazing, ranking 15th in the city. I'm so envious. I wish I had a brother like that. Based on our academic rankings, I was placed in Class 1, and it just so happened that Rowan and Vesper were assigned to the same class. As for Jason, he was placed in the lowest-ranked class. As soon as I walked in, Rowan and Vesper followed shortly after, surrounded by a crowd of people. Vesper looked quite smug as she walked to my side. What a coincidence, sis. I never expected we'd end up in the same class. But then again, given the power of the Grosvenor family, getting you in would be a piece of cake, unlike my brother and me, who had to struggle through the exams. By the way, where's that good-for-nothing son of theirs? Knowing Mrs. Victoria, he must have been arranged to get in too, right? I frowned, about to speak, but was cut off. Sister. Rowan walked over, still looking at me with eyes full of disdain. He pulled Vesper behind him, saying, I told you not to have anything to do with her. Brother, sister isn't a bad person, Vesper feigned innocence, muttering quietly. Rowan said seriously, how do you know she isn't? The entire day schedule is packed with classes. I can't be bothered listening to their flirtatious banter, so I take out my management studies materials and start reading. When class is finally over, Jason and I agree to meet at the school gate before heading home together. He wasn't too keen on the idea initially, it was Mrs. Victoria who insisted on it. After a few days, he still looks like he's not entirely on board, but he started bringing me snacks from around the school. Seeing the little cake he holds out to me, I'm caught off guard for a moment. I noticed all the other girls in class eat them. Don't you like it? I love them, of course I do. A flicker of delight crossed my face as I took them over. Throughout the next week, each day brought a different snack, French fries, fruit, yogurt. I practically tried every treat from the stalls at the school gate. As the semester passed, our relationship gradually improved quite a bit. On this day, as usual, I rushed to the school gate full of anticipation. But I didn't see him. I searched all over the campus without finding him. Just then, a few murmurs reached my ears. Hey, have you heard? Jason made a bet to race someone at the back hill. Really or not? It's true, the race should have started by now. My heart sank as I finally remembered. In my past life, Jason had also been persuaded by others and agreed to the racing challenge. As a result, the sports car had been tampered with, and coupled with the complex terrain of the mountain road, it led to a tragic car accident. Due to the lack of timely medical attention, Jason's legs became paralyzed, leaving him with a lifelong disability. No, this can't be. Frantically, I rushed toward the back of the mountain. By the time I arrived, the race had already begun. A large crowd surrounded the scene, their cheers and screams deafening. As sports cars swept by, they kicked up clouds of dust from the ground. The next second, a massive roar erupted as the red sports car lost control right in front of me and crashed straight into the rockery. The crowd scattered like frightened animals. Brother! I dashed forward, just a step too late to drag him out. A powerful force struck me from behind, pulling me back and sending me sprawling to the ground. Is this your brother? A face with a ferocious expression appeared before me. Hurry and call an ambulance. My brother is in critical condition. I looked at Jason, who was pinned in the driver's seat with no room to survive. My heart was pounding uncontrollably. Your brother offended me, and you still want to save him? Aren't you thinking too optimistically? A massive hand playfully slapped my face back and forth. I pushed him away, slapped him back with the back of my hand, and shouted hoarsely, "This is murder, it's illegal, and I won't let you get away with it." I tried to intimidate them with that, then quickly pulled out my phone to make a call. However, the next moment, my phone was snatched away and thrown aside. A fierce slap came, and I was knocked to the ground. "What are you shouting at, you little brat?" A foot pressed down on my face. An immense pain rushed over me, and in my daze, I caught sight of a familiar figure. It was Rowan. "Save me!" I shouted with all my might. Seeing Rowan walking towards me, only to be stopped halfway as Vesper grabbed his hand, "Bro, what are you looking at? Let's not get involved in other people's business. Let's go, those guys aren't to be messed with." I watched the expression on Rowan's face shift from initial struggle to resignation. "All right," he said, giving me one last deep look before turning and leaving. The man got a sledgehammer from the car. No one has ever dared to hit me in all my life. Today, I'm going to make you pay the price for that slap. The roar was scattered by the wind. He raised the iron hammer in his hand and swung it down. Ah! The moment the hammer came down, I closed my eyes. A muffled groan sounded beside my ear, but the pain I anticipated never came. I snapped my eyes open and saw my brother shielding me. Drops of bright red blood streamed from his mouth, falling onto my face. My heart couldn't help but panic. Bro, don't scare me like this." Watching Jason collapse right in front of me sent a jolt straight to my heart. I rushed forward and helped him up. "Bro, don't scare me. Wake up, please." "Shut the hell up." The man looked absolutely vicious. He grabbed me by the hair and lifted me off the ground. "Keep making noise, and I'll sew your mouth shut. You'll never speak again for the rest of your life." At that moment, urgency overcame fear. I clutched his hand tightly. "This is murder, it's illegal. I've already called the police. You'd better let us go now, or else." Before I could finish speaking, my neck was gripped by a powerful force, and a wave of suffocation washed over me. I couldn't speak. I could only watch as his face contorted step by step. "Call the police? Who are you trying to scare? Even if you call the police, I'm not afraid. Today, I'll show you what happens to those who defy me." A cruel smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. As soon as the words fell, he flung me aside, and I crashed heavily to the ground. My head spun. Before I could react, he strode over to my brother, delivering a hard kick. My brother fell to the ground, curling his body in pain and struggle. "Brother!" Ignoring the pain in my own body, I rushed over and grabbed his leg. "Don't you dare hit my brother." With nearly every ounce of strength I had, I cried out hoarsely. But I still couldn't withstand his kick, which sent me flying. "You think we'll stop just because you said so? What about my dignity?" As he spoke, he waved his hand. His companions rushed forward from behind him, surrounding my brother. Countless punches and kicks rained down. The blinding blood spat onto the ground, and I glimpsed the iron rod that had fallen to the earth, charging forward. "Get out of my way. Hit one, count as one, hit two, count as a pair." Seeing me go so crazy, they all scattered. Once I had driven them away, I didn't care about anything else. I rushed over and pulled my brother up. Large gushes of blood poured from his mouth. My hands were trembling uncontrollably. "Brother, are you okay? Hang in there. Don't let anything happen to you. I'll get you out of here right now." Thanks to my usual exercise routine, at this moment my brother's weight didn't feel like much of a burden. I helped him up and trudged toward the exit, struggling with every step. Once we got down the mountain and reached the road, we could hail a taxi. Gritting my teeth, I inched forward, one step at a time. "Where do you think you're going?" A shadow fell from above. The group of men looked at me with mocking expressions. You don't really think the two of you are getting out of here today, do you? The man held an iron rod, tossing it back and forth in his hands. That's right. You beat up our boss and still think you can just walk away? Have you even considered our opinion? A fierce-looking man stepped forward from the side. His muscles were exceptionally well developed. Even after spending this year with the Grosvenor family, where Mrs. Victoria had hired professional martial arts instructors to train me, I really have no confidence in taking on such a hulk, let alone more than one. Don't worry about me, go quickly. A faint voice sounded beside my ear, and my brother reached out to push me away. But at this moment, how could his strength compare to mine? I won't. For the first time in so long, I defied his command. I gripped his waist tightly. If we're going, we leave together. I won't leave you behind alone. What a touching display of sibling affection. The sound of applause rang out as the man's eyes suddenly turned fierce. But it's time for this to end. With that, he kicked me. Caught off guard, I was knocked to the ground, and my brother fell down too. Those men stepped closer, one by one, slowly surrounding us. The steel pipe scraped along the ground, making sharp, clanging sounds. Brothers, get them. Whoever hits the hardest will be rewarded generously afterward. As the words fell, they surged forward like a flood of wild beasts. Bro, instinctively, I immediately shielded Jason. He mustn't get hurt, absolutely not. I repeated this firmly in my heart. Bang, accompanied by the sound of a gunshot, the iron rod clattered to the ground. The expected pain never came. Stop right there. Hands up. It was the police, they had arrived. They quickly surrounded my brother and me. Those who had been so triumphant just moments ago scattered in panic, vanishing like birds and beasts. I grabbed a police officer's sleeve, begging them to rush my brother to the hospital. My brother's leg had already been injured in the car accident, and with this second trauma, any further delay could mean the worst. I didn't dare to think any further, waves of chill rising in my heart. Only when the stretcher arrived and I saw my brother being loaded into the ambulance did my heart finally settle steadily. Then I fainted. When I woke up again, it was already the afternoon of the next day. Opening my eyes, I saw Mrs. Victoria waiting by the bedside. Aurora, you're awake. Mrs. Victoria's eyes were red, her face full of urgency as she grasped my hand. I nodded. What about Jason? How is he? Speaking of Jason, Mrs. Victoria began to wipe away tears. Jason, he was taken into the operating room and hasn't come out yet. No sooner had she finished speaking than a doctor came in to inform us that Jason had been wheeled out of the operating room. Mrs. Victoria and I both rushed over almost simultaneously. The doctor reassured us, both of you can rest assured now. The patient's legs have been saved. This is truly a stroke of luck amid such misfortune. If we had been just a little later, we might not have been able to save those legs. For now, all he needs is rest and recovery. Also, his back was severely injured, but thankfully, it didn't affect his spine. I breathed a sigh of relief. If Jason had really ended up with lasting injuries because of me, I think I would have carried that guilt with me for the rest of my life. Jason woke up 2 days later. Unfazed by Mrs. Victoria's scolding, he turned his gaze to me. Little sister, are you okay? In all the time I'd been in this household, this was the first time he had called me little sister. Not only was I stunned, but even Mrs. Victoria was taken aback. What did you call Aurora? Little sister, Jason repeated once again. Mrs. Victoria patted my shoulder, and I understood what this meant. They had accepted me. They recognized my presence in this household, not merely as a tool to assist Jason, but as a complete and independent individual. Good boy. Mrs. Victoria covered her mouth, putting one arm around me while reaching out to pat Jason's head with the other. She repeatedly reminded him, no more racing from now on, you behave yourself and study properly with Aurora. Once high school is over, I'll send you both abroad. Mrs. Victoria had brought this up at least 3 times already. Each time, Jason had refused impatiently, but this time he obediently agreed. All right, together with my little sister. He shifted his gaze toward me. Mrs. Victoria tightly held my hand, and at this moment, warmth continuously flowed from her palm. At this moment, I firmly believed that I had found my family. I informed the police about how those people tampered with my brother's race car. After an investigation, the truth came to light. Coupled with intentional harm, they were each sentenced to varying degrees of punishment. My brother held my hand, his gaze unwavering, and said he would definitely protect me. Don't be so foolish next time, going alone like that, understand, he said seriously. Okay, I replied. But in my heart, I thought, whether it's next time, or the time after that, faced with the same situation, I would make the same choice countless times over. After Jason stayed in the hospital for 3 months, I applied to the school to study off campus and took care of him for more than 3 months. At the same time, I also helped him catch up on his senior year of high school studies. In the first month after Jason recovered, he and I returned to school together. We caught up with the first monthly exam. When I walked out of the exam room, I ran into 2 faces I hadn't seen in a long time, Rowan and Vesper. Seeing me, Vesper was stunned for a moment. She feigned surprise. Sister, when did you come to school? I heard you were injured, is it serious? I thought you had dropped out. From her exaggerated expression, I could see a glimmer of schadenfreude. Without responding, I walked past them. Aurora. Suddenly, Rowan called me back. Rarely did he not show a look of disgust toward me. Are you okay? I remembered the helplessness of that day and his resolute demeanor. Even toward a stranger, he shouldn't have acted that way. For him, I no longer held even a shred of the affection I once had. It's fine, I said coldly, and was about to leave. But he stepped forward again to block my way and grabbed my hand. What are you doing? Just as I tried to break free, a school bag flew over with a whoosh. It hit Rowan squarely. He let go of my hand, and my brother walked over, picking up the bag. What are you doing, getting handsy with my sister? You. Aurora, Rowan seemed to want to say something. Brother, ignore them, let's go. Vesper rushed forward immediately, pulling Rowan away. With every step he took, he looked back over his shoulder, until he disappeared from my sight. What kind of people are they? Next time he dares to lay a hand on you, just tell me, and I'll beat him up. Jason mimicked throwing a punch. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. All right, I'm fine. Let's go home. Sis, I'm telling you, my exam results this time are definitely going to leave everyone else in the dust. I'm sure I'll surge into class 1 and sit right next to you. Believe it or not. Jason said with full confidence. I believe you. You're so perfunctory. I'm not, I'm serious. I have never doubted Jason's learning abilities. He was always smart, just unwilling to study. Over these past 3 months of tutoring, I could feel him making gradual progress. The results proved my intuition was correct. 1 week later, the monthly exam scores were released. Jason truly surged from the bottom of his grade to the top 30, meeting the requirement to enter class 1. My own scores remained steadily in first place, without much fluctuation. What surprised me was that Rowan and Vesper, who had consistently ranked in the top 5 of the grade, had both fallen out of the top 100 and were forced into class 2. Staring at the glaring numbers on the report card, Vesper clenched her teeth, jealousy nearly boiling over in her eyes. How is this possible? How could this happen? She looked at me and said, Aurora, you must have cheated. After being on leave for so long, who would believe you could score first in the entire grade? And Jason, he was supposed to end up disabled. Why? Why did things suddenly turn out this way? Not only is he fine, but he also scored so well. I don't believe it. You two must have cheated. Vesper was like a madwoman, determined to report this to the principal and have them investigate thoroughly. No matter how hard Rowan tried to stop her, he couldn't hold her back. Her sharp eyes turned toward me. Cheating leads to expulsion. You're done for, Aurora. Vesper, stop this. Rowan tried to hold her back, but she roughly shook him off. With a fierce glare, she screamed, "You're my brother, you should be on my side. How dare you defend that bitch? Do you like her?" Rowan fell silent. Vesper nodded with an understanding expression. "All right, just you wait." With that, she rushed out. Shortly afterward, both Jason and I were simultaneously called into the principal's office. After an investigation, it was confirmed that we hadn't cheated. Meanwhile, Vesper was given a disciplinary record for spreading rumors and disrupting campus order. Vesper went mad, exclaiming, You can't give me a record. They clearly cheated. Are all of you blind? How could this be possible? For insulting the school leadership, she was ordered to withdraw from school. Rowan's parents came over, offering gifts and pleading with the administration, which ultimately spared her expulsion and allowed her to continue her studies. However, because her series of frenzied actions had long spread through the school, the campus was full of gossip about her. Even Rowan, who had always cherished her, began to distance himself. Noticing this, Vesper spiraled into madness once again. Rowan was utterly exhausted, and his grades plummeted, dropping him all the way from the second-tier class to the bottom class. He was even called in for a talk by the teacher, who warned him that if he didn't focus his energy on studying, they would have to take disciplinary action against him, putting him at risk of expulsion. When Vesper heard this news, she went into another frenzy, confronting the teacher and accusing her of having a crush on Rowan, intentionally trying to drive him away from her. In the end, for accidentally causing serious harm to the teacher, she was ordered to withdraw from school. Listening to the gossip that reached my ears, the pen in my hand paused. A cake was extended in front of me. "Take a break from studying, here's one for you." I looked up and saw my brother smiling at me. "Thanks, bro." I took the cake, licking it bit by bit. Outside the window, a clear gaze was directed toward me. When I turned to look, it was Rowan. It had been a while since I last saw him, and he had changed quite a bit. Gone was the aloof, top student persona that classmates used to talk about. Instead, he looked weary and downcast. I looked away, not wanting to watch him. After finishing the cake, I went back to studying. As the college entrance exam approached, with Mrs. Victoria's guidance, my brother and I simultaneously applied to universities abroad. We took the exams. Mrs. Victoria told us that we didn't need to take the college entrance exam. Once we passed the exams there, we could go abroad directly. But my brother and I still took it, for no other reason than to experience it one more time. On the night after the exams ended, everyone was cheering. My brother sneaked out of school and brought back a huge pile of delicious food. "Take it back and share it with your roommates." He put down the things and ran off again. As I carried the large bag of food and turned around, I caught a glimpse of a familiar figure standing in the shadows. "Who?" My heart skipped a beat, and I called out. 100 possibilities flashed through my mind until the figure emerged from the shadows. It was Rowan. He had lost quite a bit of weight, with sunken eyes. He looked somewhat weary. "How did the exam go?" he asked. I froze for a moment. Are we close enough to be discussing exam results? If I remembered correctly, he had always harbored an inexplicable dislike toward me. Silence hung in the air. After a long pause, he finally spoke. "Aurora, don't you remember me?" His voice was hoarse, tinged with a hint of bitterness. At that moment, I finally realized that he, too, had been reborn, or had memories of our previous life. "That day, I had intended to help you, but Vesper pulled me away. Not long after, I heard that you had taken a temporary leave from school. I was very worried about you, and from then on, I started having strange recurring dreams. In them, my family adopted you from an orphanage, and you became my sister. I dreamed of us studying abroad together, of us getting married, and of you, telling me that you wanted to be with me for a lifetime." His voice grew fainter and fainter until it became inaudible, and his eyelids drooped shut. Suddenly, he looked up at me, his voice abruptly rising in pitch. "Aurora, I'm not dreaming, am I? It all really happened, didn't it? We were together before, we started a business together, got married, had children, we..." His emotions grew agitated. "What are you saying?" I interrupted him. "I'm Jason's sister, a daughter of the Grosvenor family. We've never met. Don't come looking for me again." After saying it all in one breath, I walked past him and hurried upstairs. "Aurora," he called out to me, his steps faltering. I ignored him and walked straight away. Later, I heard from my roommate that he waited downstairs the entire night. "Aurora, what's going on between you two?" "I don't know you," I replied coldly. The next day, I packed my things and left. The Grosvenor family's car arrived downstairs to pick me up, carrying with it the youth and memories of these past 3 years. I walked away from that place. On the day the college entrance exam results were released, both my brother and I were admitted to the same overseas university. At the same time, my exam score ranked first in the city, while my brother placed 5th. Mrs. Victoria was delighted and held an 18th birthday coming-of-age ceremony for both my brother and me. In September, we set off to study abroad. On the day of boarding, I saw Rowan outside, his gaze full of eagerness. I ignored it and kept walking forward. I heard from the group discussion that Rowan performed poorly this time, only getting into an ordinary university. Desper also took the exam but did terribly, not even reaching the minimum score for filling out college applications. Everything is moving in a direction that is completely opposite to the previous life, yet strangely similar. The plane took off, and I rushed toward my bright future. As the plane soared into the clouds, I suddenly felt a weight beside me. Lost in thought? Jason removed his sunglasses and glanced at me. "This nervous on your first time abroad?" I shook my head. "I just feel like everything has finally come to an end." He gave a light scoff, but reached over to fasten my seatbelt for me. "Ending what?" "This is just the beginning." Outside the window, turbulent clouds churned, while sunlight streamed through the porthole, bright and tranquil. In this life, we are no longer the children being arranged, used, and forced to grow up. He is no longer the willful and flamboyant young master. And I am no longer the timid foster daughter who only seeks acceptance. We sit side by side, as if we have long grown accustomed to each other's presence. "Aurora," he suddenly calls out softly. I look up at him. "No matter if we're overseas or returning home to start a business in the future, I'll go as far as you want to go." When he said this, his tone was so natural it was as if he were stating a fact. I paused for a moment, then smiled. "Then don't regret it. The path I'm taking is long." "Perfect," he replied, the corners of his lips lifting, his eyes both proud and earnest. "Your brother here fears nothing more than a long road." I didn't speak anymore, just gently placed my hand on the back of his. In that moment, without blood ties, it surpassed blood ties. It wasn't dependency, nor was it sacrifice, it was two people standing firm, choosing to walk side by side. The plane soared higher and higher. The misplacements, regrets, and obsessions of the past life were left completely behind. In this life, I stood on the same starting line as him, sharing a future and walking side by side on equal footing. If fate truly favored anyone, it must favor those who dared to choose, dared to protect, and dared to stand shoulder to shoulder. At the age of 25, I returned to China together with Jason. Outside the airport, the crowd buzzed with noise. He walked beside me, pulling his suitcase, wearing a sharply tailored suit with sharp eyes and eyebrows, no longer the carefree young man he once was. "President, over here." The assistant jogged up to greet me. I paused in my steps, turning my head to look at him. Jason raised an eyebrow with a smile. "What are you looking at?" "You're a vice president now too." "Indeed." Before returning to the country, I had officially joined Jason's family's newly established investment company as a co-founder, focusing on bringing overseas projects back home, while he was the youngest executive on the board. We stood side by side, not in a dependent relationship, but as partners with completely equal stakes, abilities, and trust. On the night the press conference ended, we stood side by side in front of the floor-to-ceiling window. The city lights sparkled brilliantly. "Aurora," he suddenly called out to me. I turned my head to look at him. Do you remember that time when you were 15, blocking the way for me in front of the back mountain?" His voice dropped to a low murmur. Back then, I thought, if there was ever someone in this life who could make me willingly lower my head, it would be you. I froze, completely taken aback. But then he suddenly smiled, taking a ring from his pocket. The gesture wasn't particularly grand, yet it was filled with sincerity. "I never meant to give you a fairy tale. What I want to give you is the confidence to stand side by side for a lifetime. Aurora, will you, after coming of age, be willing to continue walking the same path with me?" The night is tender, and I suddenly think of my past self who gave everything but always walked alone. In this life, I no longer have to be alone. I do. No grand declarations, just two hands held tightly together. The wedding is simple, inviting only the closest people. Mrs. Victoria sits in the front row, watching us exchange rings, her eyes welling up. "The greatest joy of my life," she says softly, "is not raising outstanding children, but that you chose each other." After marriage, we remained busy as ever. He battled it out in the boardroom while I fought my own negotiations and meetings. He shielded me from the drinks, and I tidied up his loose ends. The world only saw us leading the group to greater heights, but what they didn't know was that what truly kept us standing strong was having each other's backs all along. Many years later, someone asked me, "If you could live your life over, would you still choose to marry into the Grosvenor family?" After a moment's thought, I smiled and replied, "I never chose a wealthy family. What I chose was someone willing to stand by my side into adulthood and far into the future." Under the light, Jason held my hand. In this lifetime, I had a career, family, and a loved one, and finally, I possessed a complete and free life.